video and put us in, there we go, splash mode. All right, it begins in 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Core. This is the weekly Core Show where we talk about video games, the industry around it, and our feelings about it. I'm Scott Johnson with John Jagger. Lurking in the shadows, however, is still Bo Schwartz, but for some reason he's having audio drivers, and we can't have him in yet. So he's in the channel, and he'll join the minute that frees up. But as it stands right now, he's stuck fighting some kind of Windows weirdness, and we'll pray for him here. Digital prayer all around, everybody. Pray for his hard drive. Just kidding. Don't do that. That's weird. Hey, John, what's going on? You're over there. What are you doing?
Oh, taking a break from Resident Evil to talk to you.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. John, we're going to get into this, but John played a lot of Resident Evil this week. Like, a lot.
Yeah.
And he's about to watch me play even more because our official playthrough begins, or mine, that is, my live stream. See what I did? I'm sure that's not the first time anyone's ever used that, but we are live streaming this thing on Mondays at 4 p.m. until the game is beat. And it'll be, there's no, I'm in the train and the credits are rolling. Where's disc 2? None of that is in this game, right? We're not doing that? Okay.
Nope. When you beat this game, Scott, you will have beaten this game.
Okay.
It won't be you're halfway through the game like Resident Evil 2, where you stopped in the middle.
Fair enough. Except that didn't happen. But yes, I see what you're saying. I get your point. That game, or the game was donated by a listener, Badger Lord. I just wanted to give him a shout out and a quick thanks again for adhering to the rules. I don't, get these for myself to be scared, so someone else has to, and he did. So John's going to be there watching. Having played it 2.5 times, you're almost through your third play.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that today. Like, what is it that drives people to play a game more than once, especially a new one? And in your case, almost 3 times in a single week of launch week, which is insane to me. But we'll find out. And you have a special relationship to RE anyway, so I feel like this is just you being the true fan that you are of the series, but there's probably a little bit more to it. So we'll get to all of that coming up soon. And maybe Bo will pop in. Right now we got a picture of him. It's a beautiful photo. And if you think that looks a little phallic, well, you'd be right. All right. Time for this. Breaking news, by the way. That Dark Alliance game is coming to Game Pass on day one. And some of you are scratching your head going, wait, Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, the old PlayStation 2 game that also got a remake? That's not the game we're talking about. We're talking about a D&D game, or D&D licensed game called Dark Alliance, which everybody is excited about, and that thing's now coming to Game Pass on day one. Both PC and Xbox, it looks like. Let me make sure that that's correct. I believe so. Yeah, it is both. John, thoughts and feelings about this? I know we haven't covered it too extensively because I feel like it just got announced. Like, it still seems new. But Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, third-person RPG set in Dungeons & Dragons universe. What do you think of this? Are you excited now to hear it's coming right to your Xbox for nothing?
I certainly liked the old games. What's really interesting about this is that it actually is a tie-in to those old Dungeons and Dragons, like Icewind Dale books. So you actually have Drist and Catti-brie and Brunner and Wolfgar as playable characters. I don't know if you ever read those, Scott.
I never read the books. That's not true. I read some of the Drist Icewind Dale stuff a long time ago. So yes.
So it's actually a tie-in, which is kind of interesting because they don't do that too often. It was one of those things where I played Icewind Dale, and that's what got me to read the books. And I was like, oh, this is about characters, and those characters never really seem to turn up anywhere except the books. So I think that's interesting. I'm curious how it goes. I mean, D&D certainly has a good history with fun co-op gameplay in video games.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well. And this looks real nice. Looks like a next-gen game. Lighting and stuff looks real pretty and all that. So yeah, genuinely curious. I don't know if this is I assume this is multiplayer, right? Let's see.
Has to be.
Oh, there it is.
Has to be.
Co-op. There it is. Co-op will be available online only at launch. What does that mean? Okay, let me read this part. It puts players in control of one of 4 heroes. Each one will have their own special abilities and unique moves. To battle through the frozen land of Icewind Dale, players can even team up with as many as 3 friends in co-op, though co-op will be available online only at launch. I don't know what that means. Oh, online only, you can't do it. No multiple people on the same couch kind of co-op.
There needs to be a comma in there. Online only at launch.
At launch.
So, in other words, they might do couch co-op at some point, but as of launch, you can only do it over the internet.
They are going to allow crossplay across Windows PC and Xbox. The game is a spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, and Dark Alliance 2, which were also Dungeons & Dragons themed action role-playing games. Like those original titles, Dark Alliance takes place in the series Forgotten Realms timeline. I'm more excited just reading this than I was prior. Yeah. I'll play this. I'm stoked. When is this? This isn't tomorrow, is it? No, June 22nd. Sorry. We got a ways. You got a little ways. But it's available everywhere. I noticed Steam has it, and PlayStation will have it. Everybody will have it, but if you are an Xbox, what's it called?
Game Pass.
Game Pass subscriber, you can have it day one on your business. That business being your PC or your Xbox. Exciting stuff. We should, I don't know. That might be one we'd play together. That feels like a thing the 3 of us might play, doesn't it?
That'd be a good one.
Yeah. He's got the Xbox. We've got it. It's PC crossplay. So if one of us didn't want to play it there, we could. Like, that just seems like they're begging us to play it. And it's.
I think we should. I think we should do it.
All right. We're planning it now. It's happening. Everybody get ready. Mark your calendars. Somehow, some way, this is happening. All right, what else? The splintering of Blizzard into many other developers continues this week, kind of out of nowhere, although apparently they've been working together for about 10 months, some of the people there, just quietly. But Lightforged Games is official now. This is ex-Blizzard and ex-Epic veterans, and there are a few others mixed in there, but mostly Blizzard and Epic folks, are starting a new team called Lightforged Games. They claim their big focus is reevaluating what an RPG is from the ground up, whatever that means. A lot of this stuff is only interesting in the long term because we don't really care until we see the actual game, but it's significant because we have these, expats from these big developers that we all know and like, especially in Blizzard's case, and we're seeing a lot of this lately. But the big thing here seems to be the kind of culture focus they have. They are going to, from day one, they are a remote studio, and that's the plan entirely. There's a whole write-up with an interview where one of the co-founders said, one of the hardest things in the games business, because it changes so quick and games get shipped and then suddenly you're either out of a job or you have to move to another studio or the same studio but in another city. They're constantly uprooting you and moving you around. And he says, I think that's a relic of the past. We don't actually need to do that. So instead, we want people to live where they best can live and already can afford or whatever. There's a lot of factors in why you'd want to live wherever you'd want to live. And we're not worried about everybody, living in the same city and coming in the same office. We are going to be a remote studio. And they've got a big push about things like inclusion and diversity and a lot of that other stuff as well as sort of just a culture of sort of ground up to the top communication where everybody sort of has a say in how things are going. Now, a lot of that could be pie in the sky. Everybody aims, to do it better than the last guy did it. But it all sounded pretty legit to me. And it's also kind of a new wave of developers doing everything from home. I thought it was interesting, those guys that did for Microsoft, the Willow and the Wisps and the other one before it.
Oh, yeah, the Ori games?
Ori, there you go. I was thinking Elmo, but I knew that wasn't right. Elmo and the Will of the Wisps. Anyway, hey, everybody. Those games were done completely 100% remote, even before the pandemic, the first game. That's just how that developer works, right? And that's crazy to me that they figured out a way to do it. But at the same time, yeah, has there ever been a better time to do that? Probably not. And I don't just mean
I
because of the
mean,
pandemic. I mean,
yeah,
we're just there with the technology, right?
a lot of people are that's what they experienced, and I think that's a very good point. I mean, we've seen plenty of studios get people are going to know I'm talking about one specifically. We've seen studios move a whole bunch of people somewhere because they're getting some tax incentive, and make a bunch of people relocate. And if that falls apart, if that doesn't work, you've got a bunch of people in a real bad situation,
Yeah.
especially if you can't pay them.
Yeah.
So it's I kind of think that that's smart. There's a lot of work that we collectively as a culture have learned. You maybe don't have to be in the office for, and I think by leaning into that, I think it's good. I think it's ultimately to the benefit. It's not for every job, it's not for every industry, but if they think that they can make this work, and if you go in knowing what that it's going to be, I think that's going to be to their benefit, and not uprooting a bunch of people to gamble on game development, which is not a sure thing.
Hmm.
It seems smart.
Yeah, it really does to me. I mean, in their case, there's a bunch of them sort of already coagulated in parts of Orange County, but a few of the hires that they've already made are kind of scattered around the country and potentially the world. And it just, those limits are less and less of a problem. And I think that's really cool. The proof will be in the pudding, and that is to say the pudding is the game. So we have to wait and see what that is. But here's what their original tweet announcement said. Time to light the forge. We're thrilled to announce Lightforged Games. We're an all-new video game studio on a quest to rethink RPGs. So whatever the heck that means. Side note, I talked to Chris Metzen about this on the side. He knows all these people, and he thinks this is going to be the big one. As much as, there's going to be a lot of noise out of Dreamhaven and a lot of stuff eventually out of, maybe Bonfire and others, he thinks this is the one where the crazy passion lies. So we'll see
Well,
what
in
happens.
the article that you shared with me, one of the top things that it talks about is new developers raise 5 million in investment as it aims to mesh elements from Minecraft or Roblox with tabletop RPGs. Now, a lot of times we collectively kind of roll our eyes when we hear Minecraft or Roblox because we think, oh, it's stuff for kids.
Right.
And I'm an adult who likes adult things and cool.
Yeah.
And I
I like
don't cite
video
that
games,
stuff.
not that. Those are toys. Exactly.
But I think that, I think there is a future there. I
Mm-hmm.
think that the ability to kind of create worlds and this sort of creativity, and you're helping build it, I think is sort of the future. We're definitely getting to a place where everybody sort of thinks that they're a developer to some degree. And I think giving people the ability to craft their own worlds and their own narratives and their own stories and stuff like that is cool. We don't know how they're going to merge those elements, but I mean, I would be very excited if they said, well, it's going to be an RPG world where you can build whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, and the world reacts dynamically to it.
Yeah.
You might have a dragon attack one day, or you might have this happen. Like, there's a ton you could see, and it doesn't mean it has to look like Minecraft. That's the other thing, is people hear Minecraft and they immediately assume it's a bunch of squares.
Yeah. They're going to make a
And that's,
voxel destructible world, and that isn't necessarily what they're talking about. But
yeah.
yeah, I think that they're smart to do that. And who knows what they ultimately mean, but there was a lot of interactions with these people on Twitter. I think this feels like a bit of a tipping point moment where you're like, oh, we really are about to see a lot of Blizzard refugees start new stuff. Like we were already seeing it, but it was a big chunk of time between Bonfire and, let's say, the next big one, which is probably Frost Giant, which is, all the ex RTS people from Blizzard started that studio and working on a new RTS. But then Dreamhaven was like, oh, well, of course, Mike Morheim with all his money, he's going to do a thing. But I feel like lately, these little things like War Chief Gaming with Metzen and this stuff here with Lightforge, it's just like, yeah, this is the moment. This is where the splinter happens. And I don't mean this as like Blizzard's falling apart. It's not what I mean. What I mean is like the old guard is leaving, and at different paces, different levels, and all of that. And where are they going? Well, we're starting to learn where they're going. And it's exciting. I'm really excited to see what comes out of this stuff, because I'm old enough to know that there have been plenty of times in the history of the company where people have left Blizzard And everyone thought, oh, Hellgate London. Did you hear about that? Ex-Blizzard devs who made Diablo. They're making Hellgate London. It's going to be so good. And Hellgate London was a nightmare. It was terrible. What was the other one that they were always having the biggest?
Man, the art for that looks so cool.
I know. It did. It looked amazing. And by the time they got kind of polished up a bit, it was still better. But by then, everybody had moved on. So it just wasn't going to work. Sometimes it does, though. Ex-devs worked on and made the original Torchlight and Torchlight 2 games. Fantastic games. But now that's all in kind of a weird disarray. But there are examples of people that go on to do big things, but we don't really have anything yet where we're like, now that's an ex-Blizzard game. Nobody's quite there. So when that happens, I'll be super interested. But some of their interactions on Twitter crack me up. Here's one that I saw that I have to share. This is somebody named Arisu, tweeted them in reply to the tweet I just read a minute ago, and said, "Can we expect RPG video games from you that has romance options with sex scenes that show full frontal nudity?" And they replied,
"Yeah.
Well, that's very specific, LOL."
It is very specific.
Yeah. And then that person said, they followed up with, "I know what I want, and I need to know if this new company can deliver. People may think it's a shit post, but I am asking a genuine question." All I would say is to Arisu is, I don't know if I'd like to introduce you to the internet where this full frontal nudity you're looking for is everywhere. So
it's not hard to find. You don't have to go through 38 hours of an RPG campaign to find it. You can go through about 2 minutes of a Google search.
Yeah, get after it, man. If you're looking for some nudity,
Bing if you feel crazy, Bing it.
Yeah, Bing it. If you really want to go down a hole, Bing is your friend. That's what I've heard. Anyway, that made me laugh. So yeah, we'll see what they do. It's hard to know until we see anything. There's no announcements, no games other than the company's forming. And all day today, there've been little posts from people here and there that work at Blizzard that I follow. They're like, "Hey, good news, big news today. I'm leaving Blizzard and working at Lightforged." And everybody's got their thing right now, and it's going to be an interesting thing because not every one of these developers is going to end up with the big end all be all game.
But in general, it spreads your interest out.
Right.
We kind of know what to expect from Blizzard. And I say that both in kind of a disappointing way, and I say that in a I really want Diablo 4 kind of way. Like it is what it is. We know what to expect from Blizzard, and now with all this talent spread out, I feel like there are a bunch of other studios that I'm keenly interested in projects that they're working on. They may not all happen. They may not all be good, but I'm interested in the people because at the end of the day, we loved to use a term like Blizzard as an umbrella term for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And now we're getting into a spot where we're still kind of using the company names, but we're following the individuals a little bit more, and I am extremely curious to see what they do.
Me too. Quick note from Sidian in the chat made a pretty good point. He says there's a ton of low-budget shovelware porn games filling the market, especially on Steam, that want AA or AAA budget treatment of romance, so it's not that unreasonable of a question. That's a very good point. Like, if you're in video games, if your ultimate time in a video game you hope is spent with a lot of nudity and sex, but you're also hoping for a lot of high quality around it, meaning, a high production value in general. Like, let's say Game of Thrones was a very high production value fantasy show, and it had naked people in it doing it. If that's what you're aiming for, yeah, there's probably room for improvement in this industry if that's what you're solely looking for. I just think it's weird to ask a brand new developer on the day of their announcement, jumping straight to, "All right, great, that's great, but what about the full frontal nudity?" We don't even know what they're doing yet. We don't know anything about it. Like, they probably
you
don't
can't
even
talk
know.
about your project, but I want to know about the nudity. Is there going to be bone in it?
Right. Like, that stuff's, again, no judgment. You're into whatever you're into. But maybe it's not the first thing on their minds. I think right now it's like building the groundwork for the company itself and the case for what game they want to build and why. And I don't think anyone's in that boardroom, the virtual boardroom, going, "All right, you guys, we got a big list to get through. Everybody hunker down. About 20 items on the hit list here, but let's start with number 1, full frontal nudity and boning." Like, they're not doing. Nobody does that.
Let's figure it out. But I mean, I will say this. The jokes aside, there is a market, and here's the thing. Our new Dear Martha segment, where I have to look up Steam reviews, has led me to some very interesting sections of Steam. Although I was surprised to learn that I went looking for Steam reviews the other day, and I was getting recommended a lot of adult games. And they said that the reason I was being recommended it, I thought maybe it was because I was looking at them for reviews for Dear Martha, and I was like, oh, now I'm going to just get fed a bunch of these. But it said, no, because of the hours you've spent playing sexual content games. And I thought, well, what sexual content games am I been playing? Turns out, Scott, I am currently invested heavily in the #1 best-selling sexual content game listed on Steam, which is Resident Evil Village, a game that contains almost no sexual content.
Why is that? Why do they have that categorically that way? That doesn't make sense to me.
I have no idea. There's a baby in it. There's evidence of sexual content that happened at some point, but beyond that, I don't know. The vampire lady is tall and has boobs.
Okay.
That's as far as I can tell.
I don't think that's enough.
Naked.
I don't think that's enough.
No.
Yeah.
It's not. It's very weird, but yeah. So now Steam thinks I have spent a ton of time in its most popular sexual content game, but I will say there's a game called Subverse on Steam, which is billing itself as kind of what chat was saying. Not shovelware, a genuine developer putting money and effort and art into essentially a porn game. And that's what it has been billed as. That's what it was. I don't know if it went through Kickstarter or what, but that's what they put it out as.
So it's a well-made.
So there's an audience for this.
Oh, of course.
And so I kind of get where that guy's coming from, but it is a weird thing. They're like, "Good job, glad you're a developer. Let's talk about the nudity."
They didn't even.
Where we landed on this.
That's what's funny is they didn't even start with that. Oh, there are boobs. I can't show those. Let's get that off there. All right, people are doing it already in that trailer.
Yeah.
The boy Steam gets right to it. They're not holding out. But yeah, like again, this isn't about somebody's look, if that's what you're into in games. Let's say you play Mass Effect all the time and you're like, "Man, I sure like romance and characters, but I sure wish it was a way more explicit experience when that's happening." All right, that's a fine thing to want. That's fine. But if I've got somebody who walks up to me and goes, "I'm going to start selling a barrel of apples on the corner street so people can come buy an apple." That sounds great. How soon can I shove one up my anus? Like, don't go straight to that. Go figure out what they're going to be first. Like, that's all I'm saying. That's my whole thing here. Nothing to do with his needs. Kink your way to Kinktown. Don't care. The ex-Blizzard people making a company, make what you want to make. And if it's full of sex, great. If it's not, great. Whatever. Everybody do what you got to do. But going from 0 to 60 on your need just strikes me as like not reading the room. I don't know. I could be wrong. Anal beef, says Alora for real in the chat. Great. Fine. Forget about dragon beef, Brian. We're on to John. We're on to anal beef. And I didn't say Brian because I associate him with anal beef. Okay, I just want to make that clear. All right, let's move on. Oh, quick bow check. Let's see. Oh, he's gone dark. I don't know what that means. Oh, let's see. What? No, wait. No. There we go. That says it worked.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think Bo is being silenced. He is the man. The man is mad at him. I don't know what's going on there. All right. Well, we'll keep checking in on seeing how he's doing. There was a story today that I refuse not to talk about, and that is Target. Target, the store, Target. They stopped selling Pokemon cards in the store because they are now citing safety concerns. Now, you may read that headline and go, "What, like COVID things or something like that, or people are getting sick from touching cards?" No, that is not it. It's because people are insane. And grown people, men and women, are showing up in this line, adult human beings, and they are shoving for position, getting in fights. The other day, one of the stores, somebody brandished a knife out front, threatening to, if I don't get the pack I want, I'm gonna hurt somebody, sort of thing. And all this kind of stuff. They get up to the front of the thing. They're out there at like 4 a.m. All right, wait for the store to open. The guy comes out and says, You can have so many of these. You can buy this pack. You can do this. And please be nice and come in here. And instead, they just run in there like the Elmo dolls in the 80s or whatever, the Cabbage Patch Kids, and trample each other. It's ridiculous. For Pokemon cards, I get it. Collectibles, man. People are into them. But this boggles my mind that people get this freaked out. So
it's the power of Pokemon, man.
I guess so.
Pokemon is weird. I was in high school. No, I was in middle school when Pokemon came out. And we're still at a place where people are trampling each other for cards of these things.
Yep.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
man.
in 2021.
Like, I know things stay popular kind of forever, but they don't go, hey, we're selling Marvel cards and people trample each other.
Yeah.
Like, Pokemon has remained extremely heavily popular for a very long time. It's kind of shocking.
You do forget.
But I get it because I like Pokemon.
Well, of course. But you do forget how popular the cards are still. Like, you think of the games and all the surrounding media and Pokemon Go and all that. And in my head, that's Pokemon. But at the core, it's still these cards. Like, that's really where the focus is and the money is and the trading is and all the weird back alley stuff that goes on with trading cards. It's maybe still one of the biggest things going. So I assume you can still buy. How many people
play the game?
Oh, I don't know.
Because there's a game to it. Like, these cards aren't just like pictures.
Yeah, it's a CCG. It's a CCG basically, right? Like,
well, I wonder how many people are actually like, no, I could go for a good round of Pokemon.
I don't know. Like Magic players always seem to have games going, but I never hear about Pokemon people having games. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just kids. Like, there's a neighbor kid just a few houses from me. His name is Ethan. Really cool kid, and he loves Pokemon. And he brought these over to show me once because he knows I'm, in this world of stuff. But he brought over these giant books, like 3-ring binders, full of Pokemon cards, like those sheets that have multiple little pockets in them. And he's got plastic on each card, and then it's inserted into another plastic sleeve. They're in mint condition, and there's just thousands of them. And he's got these ones that he's like, yeah, these are really, hard to get. And there's an original, whatever, and showing me all this stuff. And I asked him at the time, this is forever ago, I said, do you still play this? Oh, yeah, we play all the time. We're really careful, though. Really careful. We take him out. We're super careful. Yeah.
So here's my Walter White moment in life is I had a complete set of original run Pokemon cards. The very first ones that ever came out had every single card that you could get. And I sold it back when I was a kid for $800 because to me, $800 was the most money that I could imagine ever having.
Yeah.
And now I see what one of those cards sells for, and it makes me a little sad.
Wow. Yeah. What happened to yours? Do you know where they are now? Are they gone? They just got chucked?
No, I sold the whole set.
Oh, that whole set for $800? That whole thing?
The whole set for $800.
I misunderstood. Yeah. I thought you just sold some of it, so you don't have any of that anymore.
I don't have any of
it. Like right now would be the time. I don't know what you'd get for $800 worth of that, or based on what do you know what you sold, like in terms of like what cards were big or what value they had or any of that?
I don't know. I can just tell you if somebody else follows it, it was a complete set of the first set of Pokemon cards that were ever released.
Damn, dude. I'll bet now you'd have been in at least like the 5,000-6,000 range. At least.
I mean, some of those cards you hear selling for like $1,400. Yeah. Like for one card.
Yeah.
And mine was like, no, you can have them. And I think I even included duplicates. Like I was like, well, I got 8 of these, so you can have all 8 of them.
Oh, man. Well, you just thought you were at a crossroads. You're like, yeah, I guess I'm...
I thought it was going to lose value to me. I was like, no, this is the peak of popularity. Again, we didn't know Pokemon was going to stay relevant for 20 years.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it was a peak of popularity, like strike while the iron's hot, and sold it for $800. And it's real bad. Speaking of Marvel cards, I still have my stupid Marvel cards that I don't think are worth anything. So there you go.
Maybe they are, though. Maybe those are worth something now. I have some Star Wars cards like that somewhere, like those old 80s and 90s ones. Yeah, there's a whole stack over here. I don't know how to get them evaluated or what you do. I guess I look them up on eBay and see what other people sell them for. But I don't know. I'm kind of foreign to that stuff. I'm not much of a collector guy. I'm bad at it. Let's put it that way. Like I've got.
Yeah, I never.
Go ahead.
It never really panned for me. You know, like anything I ever tried to collect was never the thing that held value. I was always the person that held on to the stuff that was worthless and sold the stuff that was good. The best item that I think I ever had for a collection was Disney made a Tarzan doll. We bought this for the collective purpose because we heard about it.
Yeah.
But Disney made a Tarzan doll that got recalled because he had a little button on his back that when you moved, it just moved his hand up and down, but he was doing this with his hand and it was right over his junk. And it just made him do the Tarzan yell while he was going like this. So it's just, he just pushed the button and he just go, oh. And that was my favorite collectible that we ever had was the recalled Tarzan doll.
Oh, I love that kind of thing. It's like I have it here somewhere. I wish I had it handy. I'd show it, but the Little Mermaid VHS cover that had all the penises on it. And,
yeah, I had that too.
Yeah, that thing's worth money if I ever wanted to sell it. It's kind of in bad shape, but there's like all sorts of weird stuff on that cover that if you look at it, you're like, what were they doing? Like, That's real weird. And if you have the newer one, all of the things that were suspect on that first one changed, all of them. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, Disney, it was a coincidence, but we've decided to change all of it.
Yeah, we've changed it all, but I'm sure it was nothing. But no, I guarantee you some artist was being funny, man. I guarantee it.
Oh, there is one that it's unmistakable. It has the veins.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah. And there's the shot in front. What's the prince in that movie called? I forget his name. Prince
Eric.
Eric? Okay, lame. Anyway, there's Ariel sitting on a rock, and she's looking down, not at him, but at his crotch, and going like this. And he is hidden behind the rock with his hand down behind the rock where his crotch should be, doing I don't know what, while she's being, flabbergasted by it. He's
giving himself the old Prince Eric.
Yeah, giving himself the Prince Eric while 1,000 ornate wieners are in the background. It's an odd thing. It's something you should go look up, everybody. I'm not making this up. It exists. The point is, Pokemon. It causes consternation. This is what Target said. The safety of our guests and our team are our top priority. Let's see, they were talking to Polygon in this case. Out of an abundance of caution, we have decided to temporarily suspend the sale of MLB, NFL, NBA, and Pokemon trading cards within our stores. They say it's a temporary move, but they don't give a date on when that would lift. And
when Pokemon cards goes away.
Yeah.
Boy, I feel bad for sports cards. They kind of got just thrown in with this bunch. I don't think anybody was getting knocked over for some NFL trading cards.
Yeah,
but they all got banned too.
Yeah, that's true. I guess they probably felt like they had to do it across the board, I'll bet. Just to appease people who might freak out and say, well, it's not fair. I can still get an NFL card. I don't know. Who knows? But this is you're going to hate this number. I don't even know if I should say this to you because in your $800 collection, you may have had this. Rare older cards, like, for example, a special holographic Charizard, have sold upward of $300,000 for a single card. You didn't have that card, did you?
I don't remember it being holographic, but I did have an original Charizard. I don't remember it having a hologram on it. Or being a holographic card, but I did have a Charizard.
Anything with a Shining Fates set? Let's see, the Shining Fates set sells for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, all my Pokemon were from before then. Mine was just like, my set was just like, hey, we wonder if people will be into Pokemon cards. Let's make some. And that's the set that I got.
Wow. Wow. 2021 is the 25th anniversary, listen to this, year for Pokemon, and promotions celebrating that date, it put Pokemon cards into cereal boxes and McDonald's Happy Meals. Both those promotions I just mentioned have been overwhelmed by collectors, ripping open unsold cereal boxes in stores or leaving Happy Meals prizes sold out nationwide. So basically, it's just everybody's buying it up. I don't think nobody means for this to be such a weird addiction, but it is. So there it is. Good luck, everybody. It sounds like the most miserable thing in the world to go to a Target at 4 a.m. to get a bunch of cards. It sounds terrible.
No, the only people that should be doing that are really desperate parents just before the holidays. Like that's that's what that experience is for.
Yeah, you do
It's
that
not
for a video
collections.
game console launch. You don't do it for a chance to get a card you wanted. I just don't get it. Anyway, that's that story. Mass Effect Trilogy happens tomorrow. Ooh, I'm very excited. Ooh.
I'm excited too.
Are you
Mass Effect?
Where are you getting it? Where are you gonna play it?
I got it on PC. I don't know how I feel about the decision, but I feel like I've wanted a good version of Mass Effect on the PC for a long time. The original version was a kind of notoriously bad port, with all sorts of weird issues and changes for mouse and keyboard controls because it didn't support the controller.
Yeah.
So I kind of want that, but I'm tempted to get it on my Xbox Series X, which apparently supports a higher frame rate than the PlayStation 5 will. So apparently that's the place to get it if you're going to get it on a console.
What's the? Do they say why that is? Why the faster frame rate? That's weird, isn't it?
No, they just said it's 120 on the Xbox and it's 60 on the PlayStation.
Oh, sweet, because my TV supports that 120. I think you just made the decision for me. I think I'm going to get it there.
I've watched a lot of footage of it today. It's definitely something where, your familiarity with Mass Effect is going to change your opinion. If you've played a lot of it, I think you're going to see the upgrades for what they are. If you played it once and you're coming back to it, I think you're going to be looking at a game and going, this looks like a up-res Xbox 360 game, which is kind of, where it's at. The original Mass Effect was kind of this notoriously dark game. It had a lot of, dark lighting over the top of everything. Everything was very in shadow. And I feel like they have undone that in the Legendary Edition.
Mm-hmm.
And they've made everything very bright, so you can see these high-res character models that they've put into the game. I think that doing that has also maybe illustrated some stuff that wasn't great about the original Mass Effect that was maybe obfuscated by the shadow a little bit, by being in the dark, where, there's weird animations and weird eye tracking and snapping during conversations and stuff like that. So it is not going to be the best looking game ever, but if you like Mass Effect and you wanted to play it on a more modern console, this seems like a really good way to do that. So for me, that's what I wanted. That's all it needed to be. But I feel like based on what I've seen, maybe be careful with your purchase, depending on what you're looking for. That said, I can confirm some of the stuff you were interested in, Scott. There is Control, UI, gameplay updates to Mass Effect 1, which should make it more fun for you. At least a little more streamlined. So
I never played 1 because at the time the PC port of it nobody liked it, and that's where I would have played it. And then I don't remember what happened except that 2 was just really good. And so I played 2 and I jumped in late and I didn't have any of the previous story or any of that. So part of me is just like, I want to experience what the first part of that story is and those characters and, all that. And having it be a unified 3-game trilogy, I don't need it to look like next gen freaking, mocap, all that. In fact, the frame rate update alone will be a huge improvement over what it used to be. So I think I'm in. I think I'm getting it. I just told my Xbox to install it. It'll still be when I go to do it, it'll say, all right, you ready to pay for this? And I'll say either yay or nay. I don't know.
I think you should do it. Play yourself some Mass Effect, especially if you haven't played that first game. I think there's a lot to like there. There are parts of it that I like more than any of the other games in the series. It feels a little more open, in a cool way.
Yeah.
But
there's definitely kind of at least with 2 and 3 felt a little more hub worldy from what I can tell, from what people have explained to me about 1. 1 felt more like the BioWare tradition of a larger space, for lack of a better term, and you kind of being able to kind of go where you want to go. And this had more, and the other 2 were just a little bit more not linear, but you were never gonna be in your ship as it flew somewhere. You were never gonna elite dangerous yourself from one system to another. You were always just gonna use that weird menu and do it that way, and that's fine. But I'm looking forward to the music. I'm looking forward to like just some of those characterizations again. I'm just yeah, like I'm hungry for it. I think I'll play it. I just don't have time right now, honestly. I have no time for anything until this Kickstarter's done. So me getting a massive, like, how many hours do you think this trilogy is in total? It's probably, I don't know, a couple hundred.
It's probably approaching. If you went fast and you weren't insisting on all the content, you probably 60 hours, I would guess.
Okay.
Kind of averaging it out to about 20 hours per game, but that might be low.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's downloading. Well, I'll decide tomorrow, I guess. What else? That's it. That's all of it. I did want to talk a little bit about what it takes to play a game multiple times. John's played RE8 or Village now 2 and almost 3 times since it landed last week. And that's a lot. And then you'll be watching me play it again, which is a weird sort of pseudo fourth time anyway. That's, to me, that seems like it's a throwback to when you were a kid and you got, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good game that this would work for. Super Mario Brothers on a NES. Let's say some kid, gets it in junior high and he's like, oh man, I cannot wait to play Mario Brothers. And then they just play that game over and over and over because it's a somewhat linear experience. There's a beginning, there's an end, and then you just keep doing it. And it feels like you're kind of a throwback to that in some ways. I can't remember the last time that I immediately turned around to play a game again, even New Game Plus style or, with other benefits or added benefits. And the RE series has always kind of had some of that. But what drives you, and what has driven you, as kind of like an extended review here, but what drives you to keep going back to Village?
So I'll talk more about Resident Evil Village on my when we talk about it, or we can get into it now. But I think as far as like for the replay value, Resident Evil Village does something really smart, and that is they aren't precious about their game difficulty. I feel like a lot of games these days, they worry about making players feel like they've really accomplished something, and therefore like they get a little precious about gameplay difficulty.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times we see this loop, right? Where it's like you beat the game as a reward for beating the game, because games like to reward you for doing that. They give you something at the end, and then maybe you unlock a higher difficulty or something like that. But you go to do that new difficulty, and it's like, okay, well, you unlocked the laser gun and hardcore mode. And you go, okay, well, let me go into hardcore mode. And they're like, okay, you can. Well, can I use that laser cannon I unlocked in hardcore mode? Oh, no, because this is hardcore mode, and that would make it not hardcore. And it's like, well, why did you give me a laser gun and then a higher difficulty and not let me use it together? Like, what was the point in that? And Resident Evil Village does something very smart, which is when you beat the game, you unlock the bonus store, which is basically they take all the achievements and all the things you've earned over the course of gameplay. It tracks all of that, and it gives you a point value for everything that you've done. And that point value acts as a currency in a store where you can buy guns that you haven't, that weren't in the game on your first playthrough, or you can buy infinite ammo for guns that you have unlocked and fully upgraded over the course of the campaign. So I got done with the game and went into the bonus store and bought infinite ammo for my pistol and my shotgun. And I went, man, I spent that whole game feeling real precious about my ammo. I wonder what that game would be like to just go in and unload on enemies.
Right.
And I also unlocked a higher difficulty. So okay, let's try a higher difficulty. And sure enough, it lets you bring in your infinite ammo guns. It's like, no, you earned them.
Wow.
Use them. Why not?
Okay.
I still found that higher difficulty to be hard. So I bumped it back down for my second playthrough and went, well, let's not go crazy. And I started playing it and I was like, this is really good. This feels now like an even more actiony game than it did. And I don't have to worry about ammo. And it's just made the gameplay feel a lot better. let's keep going. And it kept pushing me forward. And then I thought, man, this is really nice on my default shitty gun and on my default shitty shotgun. But what if I had infinite ammo for like a good gun? Like, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so then I started putting in the effort to unlock the fully upgraded Magnum and infinite ammo for the Magnum, there were basically two things I was doing at the same time. I was trying to beat the game again and enjoying it with infinite ammo, but I was also trying to complete more of those challenges to earn more of the currency so that I could go in and do this. And so I was basically playing the game in new, unique ways. Even though it's a linear game, I was doing things differently than I did the first go round and trying new things and new experiences along the way. And I got the Magnum, I got it fully upgraded, and I got infinite ammo for it. And now I go into the game, and sure enough, there's a challenge for killing this extremely powerful monster that you're supposed to run from instead of running from it.
Yeah.
I killed him because I had Magnum. Super easy. It was really easy to do.
Yeah.
So now I've bumped it up to an even higher difficulty, and I'm walking through that difficulty because if you shoot everything with the Magnum, it dies. And it made me realize, like, you know what? This is fun. Save difficulty for people that are going to be speed runners, for people that are going to go, look, I beat the game in 3 hours, which there is actually a challenge to beat this game in 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Let those people knock that out.
Yeah.
Let everybody else just have fun with the stuff you've given them. And that's exactly what it does. The game has a lightsaber in it as an unlockable. That's not in the main game, so I don't feel
Really?
like that's a spoiler.
Wow.
Yeah. Double-bladed lightsabers, man.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's a lot of mods and stuff. That's not a mod. You're saying that's just in the game.
It's just in the game.
Wow.
I don't have it, but it's unlockable in the game. And I just think that them saying, like, no, come in, have fun, enjoy the game. Like, that's what the game's there for. We don't have to put all these weird barriers in front of everything in the game. Like, I agree there should be some level of you earned it. Like, you shouldn't be given the lightsaber just cuz.
Right.
But at the same time, like, if people have it, let them then enjoy it. And that's exactly what this game did, is it provided a really cool sandbox to unlock this stuff and play with. And by the time you're done messing around with it, you're like, well, I'm halfway through this game. I just finish it. Go through it. See how quick I can do it. Let's see what it does to this boss. Let's see, let's see how it works with this.
Well, it helps that you're not really afraid of any of this, right? Like, you're not me, where I'm going to die because a giant vampire lady is hunting me down. Like, you see it. I think you see it differently. You may get a couple of jump scares and you might giggle your way through it, but you're not like me, where I'm ready to crawl in the corner and never talk to anyone again. So I think that helps, right?
I am having conversations with my wife while playing this game, and she's jumping and going, huh, and I'm still talking and in the middle of talking while it's all going on. Yeah. So you're right. It doesn't phase me the same way it phases everybody else. But that said, there were some times I jumped. In fact, I think I said it on somewhere. It has one of my favorite jump scares I've ever seen in a video game. I really liked it.
Okay. And
it's really clever. So
we talked about a pre-show, but just for the record, Ethan still heals his hand by dumping water on his hand. Right?
He does.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm in from that alone. Do you still think he's the worst character now that you played this? You feel better about Ethan?
I said Chris Redfield was the worst character.
Yeah, you did. Sorry.
I hate Chris. And Ethan, I don't know, man. It is a race to the bottom with these two. Ethan Winters might be the dumbest video game character that ever existed.
Okay.
He is... I mean, Chris punches rocks, and that bothered me.
Yeah.
But there is a part where Ethan has watched somebody die. He then has had something horrible happen to him, and he is wound up in a basement full of dead bodies.
Yeah.
Full of them. And he looks at the first dead body he sees, and his reaction is, huh? A dead body? And with all the fear of just a guy walking down the street and sees gum, it's just like, what? Gum on the street? Like, he is equal parts into it and completely disconnected from the things that are going on. It's a really weird thing with Ethan. There are times where I'm like, this guy is going through more than any human being should ever have to go through.
Yeah.
But then he's just like, okay, guys, let's go. Let's do it. Like, there's no drama to him whatsoever. He's just gonna go. I will also say this, especially as a new father, there's some stuff in this game that's maybe the roughest stuff that Resident Evil has ever done.
Really? Okay.
And Ethan is really not fazed by it.
Yeah. He's just like,
It's bad when I feel like I'm more upset than the character that should be invested in it. But that's kind of how some of it comes across. It's Chad says, so he's Marky Mark. There is a level of that.
Oh boy.
There's a level of like, hey, Ethan, everybody you know is dead. And he just goes, what? No. I just, he's not feeling it.
Do we get
that said?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to say this. So we've talked about my feelings on Chris Redfield and why I don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
There is a character in this game that refers to Chris Redfield as that boulder punching asshole. And I was so excited that somebody in this game called Chris out for what he truly is.
That's amazing. I thought you were going to say something else. I mean, I kind of thought you were going to say that, but I thought in my head, I'm going, he's not going to say anything about the rock punching because that's just a John thing. But no. Apparently that rock thing got on a lot of people's nerves. I Googled it, and apparently it is a thing. I'm not the only person that thought that was the stupidest thing they'd ever seen. Oh, good. You're in tune with everybody. Do we get Martha or McGurgle or what's her name? His girlfriend or wife or whatever?
Mia. Yeah, Mia's back in it. She's
back? Okay.
Yeah, the game opens, which is also interesting because there was a choice to be made in Resident Evil 7. One of them did not save Mia's life, but this game definitely has a canonical ending to 7, which is you saved your wife, Mia, you got out of Louisiana, and you have now, it's been a couple years, I think, and you, maybe only months, I don't remember what the timeline is, but you are now living in this European village, kind of disconnected from everything. Basically, Chris Redfield got you out of there. Ethan's undergone some military training, which maybe helps explain why this game's a little more shootery than 7, which is what I would say. This game feels like if you combined Resident Evil 7 with Resident Evil 4.
Oh, interesting.
And this is the end result of it. It's very much more action-oriented. It's very much about shooting. Scott, I will be surprised if the inventory upsets you.
Really? Yeah, I keep hearing good things about the inventory, which surprised me to hear ever about a Resident Evil game. I don't even know what to do with that information. It blows me away.
It's the Resident Evil 4 system where you can Tetris things.
Yeah.
I was forced to Tetris things one time.
Okay.
Other than that, it just sort of defaulted stuff where it needed to go. I was diligent about buying the inventory upgrades when it became available, because this game does do treasures and it has a merchant and all of that.
Right.
And anytime I could buy a bigger inventory, I did. But it just worked. It was just fine. And then the one time it popped up and said, hey, you don't have room for this, I did a little inventory Tetris and I was fine. I was good to go after that.
I'm willing to bet for every one time it happened to you, which sounds like one time, it will happen to me 5 times. That's my ratio.
I don't know. You're going to have a pretty good guide who will have played through the game 3 times by the time you start. So
that's true. You can't rely on John to tell you that there's a vagina nest in the next room, but he will tell me if I'm effing up something with inventory. So you're right about that.
Well, here's the other thing, Scott. When you played Resident Evil 3, and this would have been my advice had I been your guide in Resident Evil 2 for the half you played, there were plenty of times where I said, don't pick that up. Yeah. You don't need that right now. Just leave it on the ground.
Yeah.
This is a game where my solution to everything is pick it up.
Oh, that's good.
There's no reason to leave it on the ground. Pick it up. Put it in your inventory.
That's good.
Use it. Do what you got to do.
That's good. That's really good to hear, because I don't like that junk, that thing of like, well, I'll just leave it. I hate that. Leaving stuff. That's effed. Don't leave things. Take everything is what I say. So I played Skyrim. I know what it means to pick up every damn thing you see, and then do a cheat to have no encumbrance. I know what that's like. Anyway, well, good. I think that serves as a pretty good review of the game. And whether or not I'll have a good time, well, you have to tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Pacific, if you want to see me struggle for the first session anyway. And my guess is based on your playthrough, like first playthrough without any of the, unlocked cool gun, unlimited ammo stuff, how long did it take you to beat it?
It took me about, I think it was like 12 hours, something like that.
It's not bad. So let's see. That's divide 12 by 2. 6 sessions will beat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a fun little series.
I'll move you along at a clip. Like, that's the thing, and that's why I think there was an advantage in me playing it, is I'm not there to play the game for you, but I am there if you get stuck, you have somebody that can tell you where to go.
Good point. I like that. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, whether or not, the part of this is going to be a discussion with Bo about, he was kind of on the fence about playing Mass Effect, the Mass Effect trilogy coming out tomorrow, Mass Effect Legacy, what's it called? Legendary. Because, do you play a game you played pretty thoroughly before? Do you pick it up and do it again? I think the answer from John is obvious. Yes. I'm a little bit more like, I'm like Bo. He didn't play the first game either. And so, I don't know, for us, we're getting like a whole third of this as a new game, which I think may justify the price for me. It's like, I really loved 2. I played 3, but don't remember 90% of it because I think I really half-assed my playthrough. So in a lot of ways, I'm getting like 2/3 of this thing new, and I'll actually focus this time, and play it arguably in the way that's the best way to play it, because you're getting the full deal. It's across the board consistency stuff. Like, you're just going to go from game 1 to game 2 to game 3. It's going to be, I think I'm doing it.
And there's so much variety that, like, you can even just make different decisions than you made before and have a different outcome.
Right. That makes perfect sense. Okay. We have come to the point of the show where John is going to deliver for us a fantastic Dear Martha Steam review read. And I'm excited about this. You just got the one today, or what do you got over there? You got
Yeah, this week's is a real thing. Get ready for it.
Okay.
I couldn't find one, and I settled on this, and it's a thing.
Awesome. This will not be for, what'd you call that other thing? Subverse. It's not that. It's something else, everybody.
No,
well, maybe it is. I don't know.
That.
It might be. I was looking at Subverse's reviews. Their number 1 review is, "This is exactly what Mass Effect was supposed to be. Thumbs up." Another one is just a single word, booba, B-O-O-B-A.
Let me tell you, as somebody who's looked at a lot of porn game reviews recently, there's a lot of people that's review is just booba over and over again.
Yeah, booba.
Before we do the Dear Martha, though, I did share this with you, and it was gonna be today's Dear Martha, but I couldn't remember what game it was for. But someone wrote a review, a not recommended for a game, and it said, boring, but can't refund it because I've apparently had more than 2 hours. And there's a little note that Steam puts on games that notes that this person received this product for free.
Yeah, they got a code from the developer, played it for 2.5 hours, didn't like it, gave it a not recommended, and tried to return it, but couldn't because he played it for 2. No, you couldn't for 2 reasons. More than 2 hours, and you didn't pay for it, dumbass. Oh, this guy. I wish there was a way to convert that into a good call, or a good Dear Martha, but there really isn't. All right, Here's the real one, though. We begin with this.
My dearest Martha, today I present to you a review for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2.
Oh boy.
What, clown? Are you feeling angry? Humiliated? Is that it, fool? You don't know what humiliation is. Don't worry, I will teach you its bitter taste, just as you have taught me. Me, a warrior elite. In my fingertips, I hold the power to destroy entire worlds. I am a Saiyan of royal blood, the last of my kind, and on my shoulders rests the glory of an extinct warrior race. Whole civilizations once trembled at the sound of my name, but you didn't. did you, Kakarot? And at your hands, your common hands, my honor and my pride, the foundation upon which I always stood, began to crumble at my feet. It was at your hands that I suffered my first great humiliation, toppled by a piece of low-level trash. Imagine my added shame when it was you and not me who avenged our people by defeating Frieza. You were the first to achieve the pinnacle of our race, the first in 1,000 years to take a place among the Super Saiyans of legend, a place that I was raised to believe was my royal birthright. And imagine the disgrace I suffered when the strength I had worked my whole life to acquire was surpassed by a mere child. Your half-breed son had succeeded where I, the prince of all Saiyans, had failed. It is time to take back what is mine. I will not live my life as your second. That time is over. Every breath you take is an insult to my honor. But no more, Kakarot. By my hand you will be cut down, inch by inch, the way you have cut down my pride. Yours in this life and the next, pleb_joke.
Is it weird that I feel like I've learned more about the lore of Dragon Ball Z in this reading than I ever have in my tertiary watching of Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball or any of the Dragon Ball spinoffs? I feel like I got more out of that than any of it.
I think so. Chad is asking, isn't that an actual monologue from Vegeta? And yes, I don't think they got it 100% right, but that is the monologue.
That makes it even better. Just another quick throwback to this this game. What's it called? Subverse. My favorite review now is this guy that says, quote, is a thumbs up, recommended, quote, I hope my friends don't see this. That's the entire review.
I like that he wrote a review.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that a lot. Well done. All right, the games we've played this week, outside of what we've already talked about, I'm back on Shipbreaker pretty hardcore, outside of a single lockup, which super pissed me off. I have had no problems, and did I hear Bo's voice?
Can you hear me?
What?
I hear like a distant bow.
What?
Jesus, Carabastin McClunky.
Oh my gosh, dude! We thought you were never gonna be here. Look at you now! Look at you now!
I've said so many F-bombs in the past 2 hours.
What? I mean, what's the short of it? What did it end up being?
It's audio driver issues with Discord specifically. Everything else works fine. Just Discord.
Okay.
Discord. It's really sensitive to the sample rate at which your audio driver's running.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, right now I have it set to 16-bit 44 hertz, which is painful because it's the lowest setting. But I mean, oh my God. I think this is the most annoyed I've been. I'm less annoyed with the pandemic, though.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That's high talk.
Anyways, hi. We're doing the middle of a show. You were doing something.
Yeah. No, you're good. We just barely got to the games we're playing, so it's a perfect time for you to join us.
Wow. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave everything alone because I got it to a place where I can participate.
No problem.
We're on games we're playing.
You don't even have to bring up video if you don't want. If it ensures you've got a more solid.
No. Like Zoom works fine. Everything's fine.
Okay. We'll hop in there.
Discord. Discord does not like my computer, and my computer doesn't like Discord.
If you hop in there, I'll add you to the thing.
Yeah, I'm on my way.
This is great, real time business. All right, well that's great. Back into Shipbreaker pretty hard, and I think it's great, that game. I will say this though, it's a more polished, finished version of the game. They've added a bunch of story. They have placeholder voiceover actors, which is good because some of them are definitely employees, and you can tell. But they say on their notes, they're like, don't worry, these are all, we're getting professional VO for all of this, so these are just placeholders. But a lot of that story's in there. That's an interesting take, what they're doing so far. I like it. The ships themselves, I think, are slightly less unwieldy. It used to be a lot more fiddly on certain joints to burn first, and like how heavy of a thing can your tractor being moved. They've just made some of that stuff just feel better, and I'm happy about that. And whoops, hold on. Okay, seeing if I saw Bo's name up there. It's not coming up for some reason. I don't know why it's not.
I'm in the Zoom so people can see me. Not that audio listeners care, but the people on Twitch want to see my face. I think maybe they don't. Maybe they're happy.
You're not in there. That's weird.
So are you on Shipbreaker hard, or are you playing it on hard mode?
No, I'm just back on hard, meaning like
you're going
hooked.
hard on the ship paint.
Yeah, I'm going hard. So the one thing that I will mention about it, since I've talked a bunch on the show about the progression in the system, I didn't know they were changing so much of this, but they completely overhauled the progression, the way progression works, which makes sense on the reset, right? That's why they had to reset it. But it used to be you'd have a checklist, like a huge list of things they wanted you to do per ship breakdown. So they'd say, we need this 5 items that would be considered electrical. So like electric doors, the heating element, whatever other stuff that are considered electrical. So you would do those, and those would give you points, and they were worth whatever. You also wanted to do, or would say, we need the reactor, we need 2 chairs, we need, whatever. It had like this list of things. You could get all of them, but they needed a minimum of those things to get these like bonus points that you use to advance your equipment and stuff. And the rest was just money. Like everything else would translate into cash. And if you burned it in the right place or put it in the right place, you got more money. If you lost it, you'd lose money, and so on. The new system is it's a lot different. It's basically a bar at the top of the screen that has salvage 1, 2, and 3. And your job is to salvage everything and all things until you at least hit number 3. And if you still got a bunch of crap left over after 3, it's okay if you leave it there. You can still burn it for extra money, or you can just go away and save and get a new ship, whatever you want to do. As long as you've hit 3, you're kind of at the maximum potential outside a little bit of cash. So it's a vastly simplified system compared to the checklist thing. And I'm still kind of torn on which I prefer. I think what I prefer is like a combination of the two, because I kind of liked having these. They were almost like side quests. It was like, I got to find the data drive. I know it's in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Sweet. I got the data drive. I got the points for it. Awesome. Like there was something about that list that made it feel like subquests in a weird way, or side quests. But I also do like the streamlinedness of just try to salvage everything, get the most money possible, maximize the salvage. And that's what this new system encourages. So my guess is they're going to end up with something that's sort of mixed. They'll still come up with a way to have these other points awarded based on that list. I think they can do that pretty easily.
I mean, it almost seems like something that they could combine, right? Like they could put it as a part of the story. Like, hey, we're salvaging this to build something new, so we need to make sure that you specifically get chairs, or recover this or recover that. So on this, maybe on this salvage, it's important that you get individual items, but maybe on another salvage, just salvage as much as you can.
Yeah.
Like, because I agree, as you were describing it, I was like, well, the checklist seems like that sounds cooler to me, because then you have to actually really struggle to
right,
find what it's recommending. Like that's unique, rather than just like, I broke down this ship real good. And
that's kind of my take too. I think that they want to. If I were them, I'd want to bring some of that feeling back, because really it was mostly just a feeling, but also there was a feeling of kind of hunt it down, even though it wasn't necessarily difficult to find certain things. Data drives were hard because they'd be like floating in the back end of the ship somewhere down below, and you have to just sort of run into it and find it. But in other cases, it was like, computer systems, they're all over the place, so get me 6 of them and then we're okay, or whatever. The other nice thing about that system was, if I screwed up, let's say one of them is you need to get the reactor out of there. Very common. Okay, great. I'll get the reactor out. The reactor is very volatile, very dangerous. Your guy gets all breathy when he's pulling it out. You can hear him in his helmet going, kind of like freaking out or whatever. And if I blow that thing up and destroy half the ship, which sometimes happens, then that check mark goes red and I no longer can fulfill it. And there was something about that risk that was rewarding. So I kind of missed that. I hope they rethink some of that, because I think there's a chance there to make that better.
Have you, in any officially voiced dialogue or cheesy voiced dialogue, heard anybody go, boy, today's salvage sure is rough. I'm glad we're part of the Homeworld universe, though, in this salvage operation?
No confirmation as of yet, but there have been a couple of really interesting things that have happened. So when you look down, you see the Earth. Okay, what does that remind me of? You see the Earth. What's that from? Anyway, there's a song. You see the Earth. Oh, it's a Crystal Method song. Anyway, So that you see the Earth down there, and then up where you are, it's this big giant. You're part of a big apparatus, and this big giant ring. There's multiple bays on it where there's someone like me doing what I'm doing. Not really, but that's the implication that they're all up there with this same job, and you're communicating with some of those people now in the story. You actually have these interactions, but there's stuff happening up in space now that is like freaky familiar, and I don't even know why. Like there was a giant sound the other day. I was like, "What is that sound?" Like some kind of rumble thing, and I get out of the ship and we hear. The guy comes over and goes, Cutter, we got some kind of disturbance. And I said something. I went out of the ship, looked up in the sky, and the sky kind of went dark kind of for a second. And then kind of Star Wars style, a giant freighter thing, just light speed popped into view. And I can't remember what they said. The guy said something on the radio about it, but something about that was very homeworldy. I can't explain it. Like, they're not saying it. It's not explicit, but you can tell that there's inspiration there. There just is. I mean, there's new ships. That's the other thing. There's these cool new frigates and warships and just some rad stuff to tear apart. The interiors are more varied. Like, it's just a cool update. I think they're doing great work. And outside of that progression question, which is I'm just kind of back and forth on, that game just continues to get rad. And I hope they're heading toward a finish like 1.0 this year, because I feel like they're that close. So anyway, that game's rad, and I've said enough about it. All right, what else? ESO, lots of Elder Scrolls Online. Some badass dragon shit went down here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. At my hand.
Did it feel like it could make a good theme park? Like
no, it felt.
I stepped here, so dragon leans forward and goes.
No.
And then he goes back up. And then he leans back down and goes.
That's not at all what it was like. It was like, in fact, I died at one point fighting a dragon and some of his minions, and it was like a big kind of raid fight, but with just me and a couple of NPCs, and never once did I go, oh, it's like I'm in a ride where it's kind of scary, but I'm strapped in. It wasn't like that. I felt raw and real and awesome, and there were cool dragons everywhere, and I loved every second of it. So. That game continues to be awesome. I think I've done everything in the elsewhere content now, with maybe a couple of just the zone has some areas I haven't explored or something, but I've now moved backwards to something that came, I think, with the original game, and it's the whole orc story, and that stuff's crazy so far, like real weird. I'm loving it.
Are there dragons everywhere or just in some spots?
I mean, dragons are a part of the lore kind of in general. Like, Skyrim's got dragons and there've been...
Well, yeah, but the whole thing about Skyrim was that the dragons were supposed to be extinct.
Right, that's true. They're super common here, and there's this whole dragon hold place where they're coming from. There's a whole story there. But most of the game is not dragons. It's, this was the expansion with lots of dragon shit. And including like the random every expansion in the zones in that expansion, they have, like every game has world events, like all MMOs, they all do of some sort. Rift has their rifts, and WoW has world bosses, and this game has kind of both those things, world bosses and a rift style, but it depends on the thing. So the original game had the big giant ring in the sky open, the chains fly down, and then you'd fight a bunch of Daedra. And then when you clear that, rad loot and gold and stuff, and some people would just farm. The people love farming that, just running around and finding those. In Elsewhere, those events are dragons, and they're up, and you can see it on your map. They're circling, and you have so much time to get out there before they land, so you can be a part of the fight. And when they land, like 40 people are out there picking away on a dragon, and I died a lot in those, but those still go on in perpetuity. So you could, because the game scales with you, I can at level go do some of that dragon stuff. In the original game, do some of those portals. I want to say in, what was it? Somerset. I think they just had these weird like rifts in space that you could walk through and do a fight. Those usually, so that was their version of it. But those world events are happening and all over the place, and they're all pretty cool. I just really like it. The story's really good. The places I've gone and things I've done, man, those cat people freaking love me, man. The Khajiit, they freaking love me. They worship me. And they should, because I did a lot of shit for them.
Oh, wow. It got dark right at the end. Then they should.
I did all kinds of shit for them, and they should be glad I was there. That's all I'm saying. So that's that. ESO, still a threat. We talked a ton about Resident Evil Village. Let's just do a little something here. Bo, do you have any?
Have you started it yet, or are you guys doing your duo game soon?
We're doing that Monday. Start Monday at 4. John has beaten the game 2.5 times already.
Nice.
Yep.
That's true.
And
they're usually pretty short games.
Kinda. I mean, it's still like
they don't feel short when you're scared out of your mind, I'm sure, but like generally speaking, they're short.
Well, for John, who somehow sees it all just mechanically, which I admire, probably faster than somebody like me who literally has to stop to breathe. Like, I don't know how this is going to go. Somebody said I should
What am I to do?
Someone said I should put on a heart monitor for the chat to see and just have it. There's these kinds you can just throw to the screen and they can see what your heart rate is the whole time.
You can hook it into OBS or whatever and put a little display on.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I might do that.
100% do that. Although
I
wouldn't want to do it. I'd be freaked out that it was bad for me. But
I'm gonna tell you, Scott, you're gonna get scared. I'm not gonna pretend like this game isn't gonna scare you, but I will say that in my opinion, if you've beat Resident Evil 7, you've beaten what I think is probably the scariest Resident Evil.
Oh.
I think 7 was scarier than 2 remake, although I know you have kind of a special anxiety about being chased, so that one
I really
that
hate
elevated that one.
Scott has special anxieties.
I do.
All bets are off here. You're like, this is the mildest one. He'll probably lose his shit.
Like I keep hearing, okay, John, let me ask you this. There's supposed to be something in this new one in Village that puts everything ever to shame. And there are multiple reviewers that have said, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a moment where I had to put the controller down and go like calm myself down. And then multiple people have said, "Oh, well, I know the scene. I know the scene." Is there really something like that where?
I'm guessing that it would be the thing that made my wife leave the room when I was doing it, but I don't know. It didn't.
Is it more just gross and not scary? Is like.
Well, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil it, but here's what I'll say about Resident Evil Village. I guess I should talk less about why it's fun to replay and just more about the game in general real quick. So it really is a game that feels like almost a celebration of Resident Evil because it's not really one style game. Like Resident Evil 7 was that sort of haunted house, but in first person. Like that's kind of what that entire game was. Resident Evil 2 was your classic Resident Evil, but with this like game of cat and mouse mixed in with it. And Resident Evil 8 is a lot of things, and it's kind of divided into 6 parts. Like there's sort of an opening, and then there's these kind of 4 acts right in the middle, and then there's a conclusion. And the 4 acts almost feel like they belong to their own separate games. Like the first one, which involves a lot of what we've seen. I mean, that's the other nice thing about this game is Capcom did not show you everything in their marketing because everybody thought that Lady Dimitrescu was going to be this main character through the entire thing, and she's not. She doesn't factor into it all that much. That takes up a very small portion of the game. And that portion is the part that's like Resident Evil 2 Remake. That's the part where you're getting pursued and where you have to run and where there's kind of this thing that's hunting you that you can't fight back against. But there are other parts that feel a little more like Silent Hill. And there are other parts that feel a little more like Resident Evil 5. And there are other parts that feel lifted straight out of Resident Evil 4. So there's all these weird little elements coming together that remind you of things throughout the series. And in a lot of ways, depending on what you like about Resident Evil, there's going to be something that really speaks to you. For some people, if you just like that series overall, you'll like the whole thing because it pays a lot of homage to the series overall. But I think I know what they're talking about. It has to do with what would kind of be the second act of the 4 acts in the middle, which is a bit more psychological. They take your weapons away. They go a little crazier. And I think that's probably what it's in reference to. And we'll see. We'll see how Scott reacts to it. I will say it should have it did disturb me a little bit based on what it was, but I was fine. I would be guessing that that's what people are talking about.
Okay. And the most disturbing thing in the game prior for me was Vagina Bug Lady. That one really, really haunted me, stuck with me. I'm not even sure I played that part with you. I may have been on my own then.
Yeah, I think it was you, or maybe you and Carter. Maybe.
Might have been. Oh, did I subject her to that nightmare? I might have.
I think you might have.
I hated that lady. The one that was like humping the wall and leaving eggs on it and all. Oh, dude, jeez Louise. Is there stuff like that? I assume there's grody stuff like that, right? Grody.
There's some gross stuff in this game. I don't think there's anything that bad. There's no putting your hand in a poopy toilet or down the neck cavity of a corpse.
Oh, that's good. I hated those moments.
disappointing.
That's a disappointing thing to hear. Yeah, because those two moments, that last game was a lot of gross out. And part of it, I think, is they were just trying to freak VR users out in a way. Like, here's our chance for a game in VR. Nobody's done this before, and largely succeeded at doing that. But it was also, hey, let's really go for the visceral whatever. This game doesn't even support VR, right? Village, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
Which is that's a strange flip that they decided not to do that. But anyway.
They definitely rolled back on the horror a bit. And that's not to say that it isn't there. The game is scary. The game does have its scary moments. I'm a little immune to it for some reason. I don't know why, because I don't feel like I'm a particularly brave or can't be scared person, but for some reason it just doesn't impact me quite as badly as it hits other people.
Yeah, video game horror for you is like movie horror for me. Doesn't bother me. I enjoy the ride and I don't think about it. When it becomes interactive, that's where I get lost. I think that's the difference.
Like Subnautica terrified me.
Oh yeah, that game's scary as shit.
So there are games out there that have scared me. I'm too terrified to play Subnautica. I played it for a little bit and went, I'm extremely uncomfortable all the time, but I've always been a little touchy when it comes to underwater stuff.
Water stuff and glass going kink, 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 kink when you're down too low and weird shit like that. I can't deal with that very well. That's funny because I fired that up like a week ago going, I'm in the mood for Subnautica. I'm going to do this. And it doesn't even matter whether I do creative mode or the other mode. It doesn't matter. I'm uncomfortable and nervous and scared the whole time. I can't play that game. I can't do it. Even though it's like one of the best of its kind, right? Maybe the best of its kind. But I can't freaking do it.
I've been iffy about underwater creatures ever since Shadows of the Empire on the N64. That game really did it to me. Yeah. There's something about, and that was gross too, because that was poop water.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of Dianogas floating around in poop water coming after you. Yeah. And then at the very end, there's a spot where you, like the water texture is just a solid texture because that was the era we lived in.
Yeah.
And you go through it and there's a damn sarlacc pit under there. And I remember thinking that was just the most terrifying thing in the world to me. And now I'm afraid of everything that's underwater ever since then.
Yeah.
So.
Water can be weird. Yeah. And the Subnautica, it's not Subnautica 2. It's their well, I guess it is a sequel. It's their follow-up, the frozen one, the cold one. What's it called? Sub-Zero? Subnautica Sub-Zero, is that it? Scorpion wins. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that, but I don't think I'll be playing that because it's just if you know what, here's how you make underwater worse. Put a sheet of ice over it so I can't get out. That's worse.
Oh yeah, that seems rough. You try to go up and your head just hits something.
Yeah, that's no good. Anyway, that'll start Monday. Should be a fun time. Look forward to that. And then, of course, Final Fantasy 14, still part of John's DNA. Mm-hmm. How's that going?
Yeah, it's fine. It's good.
Yeah.
I'm on the new expansion, so just plugging away at that.
Yeah.
Not a lot to say. It has been mostly Resident Evil, but any chance to remind you about a great MMO with some phenomenal dragon storytelling. I mean, what's funny is, it came out a lot more before what you were doing in ESO, it's older.
Yeah.
But there was a whole expansion based around dragons and like a whole section, like a whole hive of dragons almost. And,
sure.
It feels almost lifted based on what you were saying, like a very similar idea that they took. But I think it's fine. Nobody really said it ruined anything, so I guess they didn't nail it quite as well.
Well, did they look like? Did the dragons? Here's the important part. Did the dragons look like a combination of predator faces and anuses. Is that
Some
what
of
they
them,
achieved?
because you see what's so great about Final Fantasy Dragons, Scott, is that there's a variety. It's not like looking at the same dragon every time, like, oh, this one is raving, so it's got some, the lights to it. We put neon on it because it likes to get down. Like they actually, they got different art styles. Some are more serpentine, some are more your traditional fare. I even saw some you'd really like it because they instead of having 4 legs and wings, the arms turn into wings. They didn't look like they had to dude bro out at the gym constantly just for validation. So maybe you would have thought they looked wimpy because I know you're big on the muscles. You kind of come from the Trogdor school of dragons, but there's a variety of them.
It's hard today's dragon beef is hard to compete with. I have to admit, John's really on point. I forgot to play this
Dragon beef.
Dragon beef. Well, all right. There's your dragon beef for the day. Joe almost called you. Bo, how's Yakuza 0? You're probably playing this on Game Pass, I assume.
Yeah, so I got curious. I decided to try out the Yakuza 0.
You ever played a Yakuza game before? Or
days deciding which one to start with.
Is this your first Yakuza experience? Have you played
first
them before?
Yakuza experience?
Oh,
and it wasn't, I'm just trying stuff on Xbox, right? I'm like, I want to play a game on my Xbox. What's this Yakuza about? And oh my god. It's so good.
It's so good.
I'm not surprised that you like this. It seemed like your kind of thing when I was playing it.
I mean, I don't love it. I really there's stuff I really love about it, and there's stuff I'm like, I can't do 7 games of this shit. Like, seriously, I spent an entire day managing my hostess bar and getting it to S tier, talking to the girls, training them on how to be great with men and extract more money from them, taking them on dates so they can practice interacting, feeling a little gross about it, but also having more of a good time than I'm willing to admit.
Yeah.
Bringing in all those Johns and getting them to, the not JONs, but the JOHs.
Oh,
yeah. Let's keep that straight.
You don't know what those guys are going to get up to.
No.
Get that H in there and they get up to all sorts of business.
Yeah, I'm talking about, maybe it's a derogatory term. We shouldn't call them Johns. It makes all the Johns of the world look bad. We should call them bringing in all the Daniels.
The Daniels. Yeah. The Daniels. That helps.
Bringing in all the Eugenes.
It somehow fixed it. I don't know how, but it did.
Yeah.
Well,
anyways, so, it's just, anyways, Yakuza, where to begin with that game?
Are you doing the karaoke and all that dumb stuff?
Yeah, so here's what I've learned. And I mean, it's only based on 0, which is a later entry, even though it's chronologically first. So I don't know if this is true of all the games, but like any open world game, you got mini games. Even Assassin's Creed has it. Like all these games, they have to put mini games in there. And in the good ones, they're mostly avoidable. You do them for the achievement. Maybe you do one game as part of a story, so they introduce it to you. So, but they're kind of there, right? I think it's Orlog and Valhalla Creed, or Valhalla's Assassin's Creed.
Valhalla Creed. Yeah.
You can do it, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
This thing is, it's like, they might say, hey, let's put a couple mini games in to make it feel like the world. This thing is like, let's put every mini game we can think of that has been ever made into a game. And then let's make sure it's really important to the story, in a way, because some of the mini games, but generally they include, like, there's one quest that I spent 4 hours on because there's this disco. It's a side quest, granted, but I got challenged to a dance-off. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not having it. But then she wouldn't dance off with me until I beat her protege, and then second in command, and then third one. And holy crap, is she hard. I had to learn how to be good at Dance Dance Revolution on the controller. And I spent 4 hours learning to master it. I had to spend so much time practicing that I aced all of the songs. You can get 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, and I'm like, well, I'm this close to the completion list achievement, and the completion points unlock abilities that improve your character. So I'm like, well, now I 3-starred all the songs in the disco, and then beat her, and I spent 4 hours on it. So it's like, this is a mini game. I want to play Yakuza, not mini game. And I'm somewhat irritated, but I somewhat understand that is the Yakuza deal, because they're mafia. They're in the neighborhood. This isn't like, oh, I'm in some fantasy world or some historic time. It's like, no, you literally are a part of the community that you're bullying out of money or whatever, right? Like, that's the whole deal, which is frustrating because the story is so damn good. It's so damn Japanese and it's so damn Yakuza. They're like, "Ah!" Like they get so mad, and and your guy like Kiryu, which is the main guy, the more like gravel throat McHotness style character. Everyone's like, you need to fall in line with the Yakuza, and he's like, no, I don't think I will. He's just like, it's like, the Yakuza, you listen to your boss, and I want you to kill that person. He's like, no, I won't kill that person. And and they're like, what? And they're just like, I will beat you with my fists.
Yeah.
And it's just like on and on the same thing. And what's great, I don't know if it's like this in later entries, but what's great about this one is that it's this insanely violent game, right? I mean, I'm punching a guy in the face, smashing his head into cement, and kicking him in the nuts, and he flies across the battlefield. But killing is this big deal. Like, all of a sudden, it's like, can you go to this place and kill someone? And it's like, kill someone? Whoa! Like, nobody wants to actually kill anybody. And it's a really big, dramatic deal. And, of course, deaths do happen. But I love that they go from beating people up, and then they go to sing karaoke, like you and your brother are like, oh, yeah, serious Yakuza stuff. Like, you want to do karaoke? Yeah, let's do karaoke. And then all of a sudden, they're doing karaoke. And it's the most stupidest thing.
Oh, the karaoke's so good though.
It is so good.
I love that it starts in the bar with them just kind of drunkenly singing, but then goes to how they picture it in their head as like rockers in rock outfits with pyrotechnics and all of that behind them.
Yes, and yeah, the mini games, they go all out on them. Like they're really fun. I just can't believe how detailed some of them are. There's a pocket racer one that I haven't started yet. Anyways, I did so much. I think I've spent more time playing mini games than the actual story. Although I'm getting back to it because I finished all of Majima's sub stories, the hostess thing, and I got a lot of the sub quests done. I actually have one sub story missing, and then I'm like, I got to go back to the main character Kiryu, and do his stuff. I still have a lot to do there.
And
It's
he's
a great
the
game.
main character, but Majima is the character I'm most interested in playing.
So Majima, I think, is like an antagonist, kind of chaosy guy that you don't ever play as, except for maybe in this one. I don't know. I want to play the rest of them, but I really don't want to play like I've put, I think, 50 or 60 hours into this game in 1 week. Like, I've played a lot, and I'm not done. I'm so far from done.
I wonder if there's a number. Someone's got like a total hours possible played for all the Yakuza games. If you
there was a website I looked at because I was like, is this the longest one? Like, and it's like, what's the average length? And I'm like, to do, like, you kind of want to go completionist a bit on this because they give you a completion list, and it's not achievement.
Right.
It's how you unlock things, right? Like, it's how I got burned to the skill tree. It's part of the game. Like, if you're playing this game, you want to do the mini games in a way. And I have a stance on open world games, and I'm just like, I'm doing dumb shit in an open world game, but I really like the carrots, the cutscenes are so dramatic. At one point there's a blind girl you're trying to save, and you're walking the streets with this blind girl trying to save her, and it's so dramatic and primal, and I'm like, man, the storytelling in this, I wish more games had the kind of storytelling in this game. It's like they hired writers to make a good story, not generic, like, the kingdom is in peril. You must go to the top of the mountain and eat a banana in order to speak to the dragon. It's like boring ass crap. It's like, this story is actually like, they put the characters in weird predicaments and moral quandaries. They don't want to do it. They struggle. They have antagonists in the form of their own Yakuza bosses who are like, you get over yourselves. Like, the writing's really good. Like, I would watch it as a TV show, and I think what I might do is, for the sequels, I might just watch the YouTube, like, cutscenes only story and can skip the 90 hours, because I actually really dig the characters and the story. It's a lot of filler, content, essentially.
For sure. I found the top 10 Yakuza games and their completion. So if you're a completionist, the first game, which is what you're playing, essentially, Zero's a remaster of the first game. 25 and a half hours of completionist play. Now, that's if you do all the bare minimum completionist stuff.
No, Yakuza 0 is not a prequel.
Oh, I thought it was
no, it's
right.
a prequel. It's not a remake.
Right.
And it came after 5, I think, or 6.
Right, you're right.
But
sorry, I'm sorry. Here's the real
150.
number. Yakuza 0, 140 plus hours. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
there it
right.
is.
There it is. The
Yakuza
original
1 might be like 40, but
yeah, the original Yakuza on PS2 was 25 and a half hours. Yakuza 2, 40 hours. 3, 51 hours. Yakuza Kiwami 2, 74 hours. Kiwami 1, 80. And Like a Dragon, the one John played recently, 97 and a half hours. These are long games. 4 is 80 to 100.
Kiwami 1 and 2 are remakes of 1 and 2.
Oh, are they? Okay. So they're longer than the originals, which
I guess
crazy.
I don't know what Kiwami means. I think it means remake. I don't know.
Yeah. Yakuza 5, 120 hours. You're currently playing the longest one, though. So
yeah, it definitely feels that way because they're giving 2 characters. I think it's like, watching Clone Wars at the end. These are long stories of Anakin and Obi-Wan. So they're going, if you didn't know who they were, you'd be like, why are they spending, who are these people? Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of that. Like Majima, I think, is like a beloved it's a prequel about characters that from their later stories. So I think some stuff is lost on me a bit, the significance of it, or some of the irony, because I think Majima turns out to be kind of a bad, crazy person, and I just assume Kiryu is just the same the whole way through because he's that silent antagonist. He's like, you need to go here and kill someone. Kill someone? No, I don't think I will. I'll do things my way. And it's just like, and they're like, oh, we're gonna fight you, and then they fight. Like that's the excuse. But I also just love how it's like I guess it's depicting a time and a place, but Japan is like Japanese culture, and if you're Japanese. This is going to be offensive, but it's still my impression. I think if it's as much like visiting an alien planet as you're ever going to experience without actually meeting aliens.
I think that's okay to say. It's
relatable because
sure.
We're all human, but like the rigid sense of honor and respect, and they're in this the collectibles. Mm-hmm. You collect these weird videos of I think over 18 girls that look very young in bikinis. And then and the way you watch these is you go to a store, there's a clerk, and he's like, oh, I'll get you a room set up. You go into a room, there's a VHS player, and you hear the VHS pop in. It plays the video, and then and there's an ashtray in this room and a box of Kleenex. And at the end of the video, they cut to the Kleenex, and your guy goes, ah. And I'm like, I don't know about this one. And the other thing is the collectibles there are these telephone cards with pictures of girls on them, and you got to collect them all. And then there's a guy who's like, man, I don't collect the cards, but I just really like looking at them. When you collect a set of 3, show me, and I'll give you 5 million yen. And I'm like, that's weird. And there's even an NPC called Mr. Libido who walks around in a pair of briefs, or not briefs. Yeah, briefs is a brief.
Yeah, briefs.
Yeah,
underwear
and
briefs.
Pelvic thrusting, and he's like, I'm Mr. Libido. I got to keep it up all the time. And he's like, do you want to know where the hot girls are? Yeah, and he's like, I saw you going into that video store, man. Those videos, they really get me cranking. And you're just like, yeah, me too, bro. And then he helps you find other videos, and it's just like there's this, and I'm like, this is Japanese culture. It's just hard to imagine Gears of War. Phoenix is like, hey man, where the F is the goddamn the videos of the hot girls? Like you just wouldn't see it in an American game, and just all kinds of stuff like that, man. It's cool. It's gross when it's gross, but it's cool when it's cool, and it's like the honor stuff and the
Yeah. I enjoyed the brief time that I had with Yakuza. It was more of like I don't know why it didn't hold me. I think something else came out, or I don't know what the deal was, but it's there.
A lot of filler. It's like it's an RPG. And that's what I'm saying. It's like some RPGs are in fantasy land, some RPGs are like cyberpunk. This one's like, it's Japan, enjoy. And I've been kind of hooked on it because it's sort of fresh in the sense that it's not it's an unusual trope for video game. And the one last thing that's a real big benefit to Yakuza is that while it's an open world game, the open world is small. I'm not running across an entire city in 50 damn like subdivisions or whatever. It's actually thankfully very concentrated area, which I like.
It's a
So
lot
that
like
also is a big
actual
plus.
Tokyo in a lot of
Feel-
ways. You know,
It's like double the size of a Deus Ex game or something, or maybe even like there's 2 zones in this one, so maybe
Yeah.
4 times. But like, it doesn't feel huge. It feels like I know the neighborhood, and it takes me maybe a minute to get somewhere. It's nice.
So hold on, is this the one where the telephone, you have to save at telephone things?
Yeah, you save the telephone. Oh my god, there's an hour of intro, and then I shut off my Xbox, and I had to start again at the beginning because I didn't hit a save point. God damn it!
Thing. I did the exact same thing. I would have loved some sort of just autosave that in case you screwed up. But is that true of all of them, John? Like all these games are that way? You got to save at the thing.
I don't know. I've only played Zero and Like a Dragon, so I'm on the bookends of this, which I'd actually be interested to see what Bo thinks of Like a Dragon when he wraps up Zero. But
Yeah.
if he goes through all of them, he's got a ways before he gets there.
We'll see. I also, want to get the one prevailing thought while I was playing this is like, while it's a good game, it's not cutting edge, right? Like, like they're a little polygonical, the fidelity on the graphics polygonal. It's polygonal.
Like a Dragon is definitely an uptick, though, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But there's a little part of it. It's like, I did buy Cyberpunk, and I did sort of step away. I'm like, why don't I just play Cyberpunk? So I might just get back to Cyberpunk and give that another effort.
Yeah.
Because I really like, Cyberpunk stuff. Like, I really want to play it. I just kind of fell off there's a momentum, I think, loss essentially on it, in spite of my complaints about it. I'm like, I could be playing Cyberpunk. Like, it wasn't, So I might just finish Yakuza and then make my way back over to Cyberpunk for a spell.
Sure.
It's 7 games still to go, man. If they're 100 hours, like, this is my life. This is 2011 or 2021 for me. If I'm like commit to playing all the games, like,
right.
All I'm going to be talking about is, cards with girls on it, and what'd you do this week? Well, I beat up some Chinese men. That's literally an enemy type. There were Chinese men that I had to fight at one point, and then I don't know. I don't know if I can do it for that long. I need the variety.
Well, I really like.
Well, I mean, you should definitely change it up. But I would be curious to see if this is a series you revisit.
Yeah.
And I would say more interested in at least what you think of how Yakuza plays with a turn-based battle system instead of an action one.
Yeah. There's still going to be an action one. Oh, I don't know. Like, there's a Judgment series, I think. Is that Yakuza or is that something different?
I don't know. There was news this week that they said that they're doing the turn-based thing from here on out. Like, that's the new way.
They were doing turn-based, and then for the Judgments entries, they're doing action. So it's like they're going to do both.
I don't know
and
what
they're
Judgment
franchise
is.
them out. I just don't know if they were both Yakuza games or not. That's all.
There might be a sub-series sort of thing.
Yakuza Judgment. Oh, okay. It is a spin-off. Lost Judgment. Launching this fall. That one keeps the real-time combat. Okay. I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah.
Wow, what a series, dude. What a nutty series this is. It's all over the place.
It's crazy. Anyway, I think the story aspect is really well done. I think if there wasn't a good story, I'd be pretty out. Like, it's just I like the story a lot.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing from many people. They're like, it's an awesome story that has a game around it, and you got to play the game to see the story. But like you said, like you could maybe tear through the main game here and then watch the rest of these in succession. I
could do the cutscenes only thing. I mean, the thing is, the side missions do kind of, endear you to the characters and stuff. But the side missions are pretty, like, they're not very boring or particularly fun, or they're not particularly interesting except for the character story that comes along with it. Sometimes the story's bad too.
Are you doing subs or
one
dubs?
where Steven Spielberg wanted to make a movie, and that was pretty exciting.
Very exciting. Did you do subs or dubs, Bo, Are you reading subtitles?
Oh, is there? It's in full Japanese.
Oh, I think there's a way to switch it over. I love dubbed video games because they're so bad. I
should check if there's English, because sometimes if they're dubbed good, then they're like, Gurren Lagann is like has great dubbing. You know, like it depends. It depends.
Gurren Lagann.
But no, I'm just listening to Hello, and it's just nothing but. I'm trying to pick up Japanese by.
You're gonna learn by osmosis here. I like it. Yeah. That's fantastic.
If he plays all 7 games, it might happen.
It might happen. Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, I watch enough anime too with that. It's a hard language to pick up though.
Yeah, I started watching an anime series this week called. I'm sure everyone knows about it but me. Black Lagoon. Never heard of it until now. Apparently it's popular and a lot of people really like the girl that's in it. But anyway, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of their take on kind of a Fast and Furious style, mercenaries for hire kind of modern tale thing. And it's super anime and lots of gore and action, which is what I was looking for. And I think it's good. I like it. I like it a lot. Remy, is it? Or Rezi is the girl? People really like her, but yeah, it's closer to whatever Cowboy Bebop is in terms of anime styles. Like it's a little more my thing. Revy is her name. Okay, she's this smack talking, angry mercenary chick that works with the team, and I'm doing the dubbed version, which I think is actually quite good. Yeah, it's on Hulu, I guess. I like it. It's cool. Seems good so far. I'm gonna keep at it. All right. Well, that's it for games we played. And now this.
That's a good question.
A quick email, 2 emails. One of them, I'll read this the last one first, because it's just a nice thing to say. Amy from Australia wrote in to talktothecore@gmail.com and said, "Hey guys, was just listening to your podcast from a couple of weeks ago when a fellow Aussie, Mark, wrote in. So I thought I should too. Anyway, I work at EB Games here in Australia. It's basically a GameStop that we have here. And wanted to broaden what I listen to so I can also chat more with my customers about stuff I don't play. I was a longtime listener of The Instance and have recently found myself moving away from WoW. So I looked for something different on the Frog Pants Network, and boy, have I not been disappointed. I've been listening now for about 7 months, and you guys never fail to make me laugh or smile with your banter, game knowledge, etc. Thank you, by the way. I've spent so much more on games that I wouldn't have even thought of if it wasn't for listening. Anyway, keep up the amazing work. Making my week whatever the new podcast drops. Kind regards, Amy. I just thought that was really nice. So thanks, Amy.
It was really nice. My favorite thing about this email, though, is that the name Mark is in quotes, which might be appropriate, but it just makes me feel like this Aussie Mark. Like,
yeah.
If Mark,
if
like there's really going to be an Aussie here by that name.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark.
Don't feel bad.
We have EB Games in Canada too. It's not just an Australian GameStop; it's also a Canadian GameStop. So we share that in common.
That's true.
Amy.
We used to also have them here, and then they rolled into GameStop. So, we had EB for a long time.
When I worked at GameStop, EB Games was the competition.
Yeah. Then they rolled them in and bought them, and Software, etc. Same thing, and then they bought them. They just kept buying everybody.
The first GameStop I worked at, they had been purchased by that point, but we still were called Software, etc. So that's where I started,
really?
Was a Software, etc.
That's where I got all my Genesis games back in the day. That's where I would go.
Software, etc.
Yeah, it was in the mall, and I think I bought my first PlayStation on day one, on launch day, PlayStation 1. Yeah, I have a lot of memories there. I like that place. And it was just 2 doors down from Sbarro Pizza, which was only 2 more doors down from the arcade that I hung out in all the time. So a lot of fun.
By the way, sorry, go ahead.
And I recommend anybody get a job at the mall for while they're still around before they all go away. That's a great place to work.
Yep.
But we were not that. I mean, we weren't far from the food court, but we were across the way from a Victoria's Secret.
Yeah,
that's what we had next to us was a Victoria's Secret.
Nice big panty ads. Nice.
We just looked out the front door and it was nothing but pink.
Yep.
As far as the eye could see.
Cut to a camera of a Kleenex and a guy going ah. All right. Sorry, Bone blew my mind with that. I'm never going to forget it.
But what?
Your thing with the guy, with the Yakuza guy going, ah.
Yeah, sorry.
You seem so shocked. I feel like you just told us that story.
I don't know. I had a moment where my brain just went empty. Like I forgot I was doing a show. I didn't know what I was doing. And so that's why you were saying stuff, and I was like, "Oh, what's this about me?" It just kind of snapped me back into reality.
I love it. Well, I love comments like this because more and more people are discovering that Core's got something to say, and it really makes me happy. So
I find it nice that I do this for people because I've certainly been on the other side, even listening to Scott's shows before I was ever even had a microphone in my face.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, don't feel. There's another person saying I'm kind of drifting away from WoW. Don't feel bad, everyone who's drifting away from WoW. There's a lot of this going around right now, and 15 years into the game, it feels like maybe you're breaking up with your longtime marriage or something. But if you're feeling a little unsettled there, or just not in getting what you used to get, or whatever it is, don't feel bad. Look, we should have a support group or something. It's okay. Go mess around with some other stuff. You're fine. You may come back. You may not. It's okay.
I think especially now too.
Yeah,
because we're playing in video games way more because we can't go out and give variety to our life.
Right. So you're getting it at home.
Playing a video game, waking up playing a video game all day and then going to bed is a way different feeling than if you I don't know, at least went to your job or went for a walk or even saw the neighbor or it's like we're bound to get a little cabin feverish.
And it's totally fine. And also,
and I know there's a bunch of other stuff that John very kindly explained this week to me about World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that was actually a really good conversation. You guys should have seen that. It was good. But
I vent a lot. I used to have a WoW show where I could vent about all this, and now we.
You're not doing it?
No, they can't.
Well, we don't do it weekly anymore, and when we do it, we just devoted our whole last episode to ranking the top 20 changes in the Star Wars Special Edition.
Oh,
so it's a really good WoW podcast. Is what we're doing.
I mean, there's more happening in Star Wars than there is in WoW with all the Bad Batch coming out and all that. I mean, why not, man?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Bad Batch! I didn't think I was gonna like that show, and I like that show. I'm surprised.
Are we? We're in 2-3 episodes, right? I think it's time for me to jump on. I haven't seen it yet. I want to.
It's 2 episodes that I know of. Maybe the 3rd this week.
Okay, I'm into it.
You watch Clone Wars?
A lot of Clone Wars, so I know about the Bad Batch. I understand kind of the origins, but it seems like my kind of thing, absolutely something I'd be interested in. So I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, so far it seems like the next season of Clone Wars, basically.
Yeah.
Just without the Jedi.
I'm down. I like that. My favorite things in Star Wars are without the Jedi, personally. So I'm in. Here's one more from NPC. The non-player character wrote in and said, regarding Trials of Steel, number 1, wanted to recommend Trials of Cold Steel to John, possibly Bo as well. Epic JRPG with all the tropes. Yep. Complex battle system reminiscent of Materia in Final Fantasy VII. Yep. Relationships. Yes. I'm only on the first game, and there are 4 in the series with the characters moving throughout. I'm not recommending this to Scott because it is full of, quote, anime bullshit, unquote. Yeah, I might like it. You never know.
You always say that, and then you always go, it's full of anime bullshit.
Yeah, you kind of got served there.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I admit it. I'm all over the place on that stuff. It just depends on my mood. I watched Akira this week. I love Akira. And I know Akira.
Yeah, but that's easy.
I know it's easy.
I know. You're like, it's not. Yeah.
I know it's easy. It's kind of like what's the other one? The robot lady.
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell. They're the easy targets. I get it, right? Those are the ones that make it over the pond in a way that's a little more mainstream or whatever people know.
You're only
going
to not like those things if you don't like good things. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there are those people out there,
Yeah.
They're like, oh man, the new Adam Sandler film, yeah. But they're like, Pulp Fiction, I didn't get it. Those people exist.
They do exist, and it's okay for them to exist. And I do like chunks of anime. What I don't like is when I say anime bullshit, I'm talking about just the tropes and nothing more. I like my time in Yakuza because it's more than the tropes. It's like a legit story that goes places, but also has the goofy, and I like the goofy. The goofy's great. I use this now on the morning stream whenever Canada comes up. We have a story about Canada, rather.
Stream.
I play this right here. Where is it? Oh shit! Did I lose it? No, it's right here.
Canada,
which is not Canada at all, but it's Canada.
Oh, that's anime. Canada.
Yeah.
Canada.
That came from Akira, and I'm gonna use it.
Singing the Canadian anthem and starting, oh
Canada.
Oh Canada. Anyway, be like Tetsuo and become a giant flesh beast. Okay.
My point, Scott, is that there are shows out there that I think you would genuinely like that have a ton of stuff where I'm like, oh, this is so up Scott's alley. Like shows like Trigun, where it's like in the desert, it's a wasteland, it's a bunch of steampunk stuff, it's a bunch of weird looking dudes with disfigurements and biomechanical bits glued onto them, and it's just 100% up your alley. But because every now and then the main character goes, wow, has a dumb face, you're like, I can't watch this.
Well, it's not that he just does it every once in a while. It's in Trigun. I swear it was the first 10 minutes. That's all it was. It was just like,
you're supposed to think this guy's a goof and not dangerous at all, so that when he becomes dangerous, you're like, this is shocking. He was a goof before.
Yeah, I don't know. What I'm saying is I'm trying to, broaden my horizons. There's a couple things on Netflix I want to try too that look cool. And I'm really excited about the new season of what's it called? Castlevania, because that's my kind of like violent, over the top, ridiculous thing. And I know it's not, some traditional anime, and it's probably the most, it's super Western and all that, but the dub's really good and it's just cool. And I liked Full Metal Alchemist. I watched that, Kefez. That's an amazing thing. That was great.
Did you watch Kill la Kill?
No.
You should give that a shot.
Should I?
Don't be scared of the boobies.
Kill la Kill. I'm not afraid of boobies. They don't scare me.
Okay, then then this is what you need to be watching.
Hold on.
It's a limited run. It's only 24 episodes. It's goofy and insane, but it's good.
Okay.
It's got a lot of heart.
It's on Amazon.
It's on Netflix.
Or Netflix, yeah. It's a whole series. Okay.
And watch it in English. It's one of those ones where the voice acting in English is really great. It's actually superb.
Okay, I'm into it.
Just watch it. Just don't be. I think how I felt about it was like, oh, this is very cool. And then I saw the transformation of Senketsu into power uniform.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit like, am I on a watch list? Like this is a little much. But then you're like, you know what? No, I'm into it. This is not like this is kind of girl powery in a weird, but you're like, I don't know, but it doesn't step over the line in terms of taste, and it's not gross.
Well, I'm assuming it doesn't. If it's on Netflix, they got to get it. They can't get away with.
Yeah, you'll see what I mean when you watch the first episode. If somebody, you might be like, well, maybe I hope someone doesn't come in while I'm watching it, but it's not porny. It's just, and there's a reason. There's actually a fictional reason for why it is that you discover later in the series. Just stick with it. Just try not to let it put you off a bit.
Okay. I'm going to watch this. I'll take your recommendation and watch it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think it's my favorite anime out of all of them.
Whoa, really?
It's not uber violent, although it's violent. It's more just, it's yelly, and I think it just does interesting fictional things that you're never going to find in a series anywhere else in terms of its science fiction, and it's not deep science fiction.
Yeah.
But it's super good. Like, it's just dripping with personality and style. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
There's some bad animation frames. I think when their budget got a little tight, you'll see a bit of that where you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Do you all ever see Paprika? Do you remember that movie?
No, I haven't seen that. I need to watch that.
That's a cool anime.
I haven't seen a lot of Studio Ghibli, right? Like
no, that one's not, but I could see why people would say it is. It's also more adult and stuff, but it's kind of like that tone though, but more adult. I just remember loving it. I thought it was rad.
I feel like I've seen this, but I don't remember any. Like, I look at it and I go, I saw this movie, but I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Knights of Sidonia?
No. Or did John? Is that what you're asking? Maybe.
No. Well, no, I ask you because I know you've seen Blame.
Yeah.
We talked about that. So that Blame is based on a manga from the same creator, Knights of Sidonia. And they only did 2 seasons on Netflix, and then it kind of dropped off the face of the earth. And actually, this is a PSA for anyone listening, because if you happen to like Knights of Sidonia, finally, there's not going to be a season 3, but they're doing a feature film that's going to end the story animation-wise, and that releases. It was pushed back to June 4th, but that's like, I've been searching the internet for years, going like, when is more Knights of Sidonia coming, please? And because it's also one of my favorites. and they're finally putting a finish on it. And this is one of those. It's a mecha one where they're in a giant.
Oh, I like
humanity's last bastion is they're in an asteroid in space, and they have mechas to defend it from Ghana, giant flesh monsters.
Oh, then I'm in.
And then does have a bear lady that takes care of some of the characters.
A bear lady.
But yeah, there's a bear lady in it. And,
a bear lady, like she's not naked, she's a bear.
No, it's a bear. Like it's literally a bear. It's like Aunt Tata or something, and she's a bear. And she's like, Tanikaze, make sure you eat your food.
Yeah.
Also,
what
all
does
the
it say
humans
about anime that both Scott and I immediately just assumed it was a naked lady. We're just like,
there's no nudity in this one. This is a little more kiddie, but also adults.
Currently not on Netflix, by the way. It's not on Netflix anymore.
No, it's not anymore. But Knights of Sidonia, I mean, I just really fell in love with it, and it's the only manga I've read is Knights of Sidonia. I actually bought them, and then they just didn't finish it. So they're finally the movie's coming out in a few weeks. So I'm like super stoked about that. And at one point there's a giant. So they befriend one of the Ghana, or they make one. So it's like a mecha, but a flesh mecha that has her own. She's an individual, but she can't fit inside where the humans live in the asteroid. So she has this giant like belly penis that she puts through the pipes. So when they're hanging out in one of their houses in the asteroid, this like little penis looking thing is also hanging out with them, and they're like, "Oh, hello!" and I think it's Tanigaru or what's her name is. It's weird, man, and it's the same guy that made Blame. So if you liked Blame,
I liked Blame.
That sort of that aesthetic. It's a little lighter, but it's the same like thinking behind it. It's really good, but it's got some weird shit.
It looks
that I
cool.
like.
I like the look of it a lot. I'm looking at the trailer.
It's super good, man. Knights of Sidonia is also one of my favorites.
All right. Written it down.
And it's not, when you're like anime, everyone's like One Punch Man, JoJo, Naruto, and I'm like, man, you guys have no taste. Like Kill la Kill, Knights of Sidonia, Death Note, super good.
Come on now. I think One Punch Man's fantastic.
They're fine, but it's so
I will
easy,
not hear
have...
besmirching of One Punch Man.
I don't like the 500. I don't like open world games. I don't like anime with 500 episodes and 50 spin-offs. I like these limited run. Knights of Sidonia has 2 seasons, and they're gonna have a movie. That's it. Kill la Kill's 24 episodes. Death Note is 2 seasons. Like these tighter stories that I don't have to watch 5,000 hours.
See, like you don't know where to enter the Appleseed universe. It's like I don't know, or not Appleseed. Yeah, because that looks cool. But then I'm like, well, where do you go? Do I do the 80s movie? Do I do the thousands of series spinoffs? Do I do I don't know where to start with that stuff. So yeah,
I like the digestible formats and interesting. There's interesting anime there. So yeah.
Chat room says
I don't know where you're gonna watch it, Scott, but I stand by what Kyle and Kristen both recommended, as well as me after they did, which is you should watch Berserk at some point.
Oh yeah, I tried to find Berserk and I couldn't find Berserk anywhere.
It's on Netflix easy, for me in Canada.
It's not easy to find. I have the DVDs. That's how I have it. But
right. I'll dig around.
It's good. The only issue is it doesn't end. So like what Bo likes, it's a limited run. But like what I don't like is that it has an ending. It's just not a fulfilling one. The story wraps up, but you're like, oh, well, it wraps up on this concludes the story we've been telling, but now you're totally invested in a world that you're going to get no more stories about.
So what's the difference between Berserk? Okay, I'm looking at my friend's Plex server. He's got a whole bunch of Berserk on here, but I can't tell what the difference is. There's one they're both called Berserk. One's from 2016, one's from 1997. Are they the same?
You want the 1997
Okay,
one.
the old
That's
stuff.
The one.
Okay, I'm marking this now as something to watch later.
They keep trying to make it because the manga's gone on, and like I said, it would be like, so Berserk is like if you watch just the Star Wars prequels, and you're like, well, I can tell that there should be more here.
Okay, you mean story-wise, not quality-wise?
Not quality-wise, but like you can tell it's setting up something, but that it then would end at episode 3. You're like, all right, well, there's this Darth Vader guy, and Obi-Wan's off doing his own thing, and they keep talking about New Hopes. This really ended on a bit of a downer note, everybody. That's kind of what Berserk is.
Okay. All right, I'll watch that. Well, thank you for the recommendations. These are fantastic.
I'm kind of pissed. They took Knights of Sidonia off Netflix, and it's not streaming anywhere.
Yeah, it says, I've marked it so it'll remind me when it comes back, because I guess this has happened 3 times before. It comes and goes. It's not.
I mean, they're just releasing a movie, so it's got to come back up somewhere. So people.
Yeah, that's
Gonna
weird.
write them a letter.
If you find a source, let me know. By the way, NBC ends this email by saying, thanks for the show, and you needs must accept dog dragons. Don't know what that means, but okay.
Let me tell you, as somebody who's put a lot of hours in a game where people will tell you needs must what you do, they're saying you should like the dragons in Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, was that it? Okay.
Yeah,
I thought maybe what he's saying is I must like what? A never-ending story dragon? Like that stupid dog, never-ending story dog thing? Is that what I'm supposed to like? I don't want to like that.
You should like him too.
No, I don't want to like it. I don't want to. Sorry.
I don't want to like it. I want to like it. You can't make me like it.
That is going to do it for this week's show. Great stuff, everybody. I'm really glad, Bo, you were able to get in here. Sorry about the weird tech stuff.
It was a wonderful 2 hours spent troubleshooting my computer. But, I'm glad I made it. It's great.
That's fun stuff. There was a Windows update that I'm now nervous about.
And I didn't update mine, so it wasn't that. It's my ongoing struggle with Discord and my audio driver, essentially. It's just dope.
Well,
it acted up.
Let's hope it all goes well. In the meantime, did you guys know out there listening that we have a Patreon? That's right, we do. And if you want to support our Patreon, it's easy to do. All you do is go to patreon.com/core show. And we'd love it if you did. It helps keep the lights on. It's going good over there, but we can always use more. So if you like the show and want to show your support for said show, head on over there now. That's, again, patreon.com/core show. Everything else is at frogpants.com/core. And that email address, once again, talktothecore@gmail.com. We have a bit of a tradition of letting people have the final word before we leave, and we're going to do that today. John, final words from John.
I'm John Jagger, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Perfect. That's exactly how this should go. That's really well done. Bo, final words.
You're all just pigs in sheep's clothing.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I don't even know what it's from, but that's great. Thank you for that.
Kill.
Oh, okay. Kill the Kill. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna watch that, and I'll report back next week. That's gonna do it for us. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
A little RE.